Gotta love the brake pedal to the floor. Here we go. Oh, not too close. Almost smacked the mirror though. Take two. Not hitting anything this time. So here's what we're after today. It's this, I don't even know what you call it. It's got everything built in. You've got your ABS pump, your brake booster, and your master all in one doohickey here. And this is an absolutely terrible design, and nobody should ever use this. I will say, it makes the traction control really good though. When you're off-roading. But it comes with its problems, and that's if you have any issue, it is $800 in parts to replace the whole thing. Sometimes you can get away with just replacing the pump and the accumulator for, you know, like $500 or something. But with our issue today, I don't know if you can really see it. I might have to get a flashlight here. So with our issue here, if I can sneak you up under here, if you look closely at that pedal, I don't know if you can really see that, but at the end of the rubber boot, focus, you can kind of see it. It's a little wet. This is after I dried it off, but it is indeed leaking fluid onto my carpet. And you can't rebuild it, so it's $800. So I think first things first, get this thing out of the way here. It's got a couple of 13mm bolts and this plastic tree clip. Take a flathead screwdriver or something, we'll pry that out. But should be pretty easy. I always have trouble with these little plastic things. I hate them. I usually don't even put them back. But I got one of these from the auto parts store. Clip remover, you can either go in up top. I actually just shoved it between here and pressed down and it popped right off. Should be able to slide this thing out. I guess this is for the hood, but I've never really seen it touch there. It usually just gets caught on the hood latch, but it's there for something. Don't really know what. Now we have access. We're probably gonna have to pull the fuse box cover off, which you can see with my mess is gonna be a little challenging to get this connector off here. I believe this is just power for the pump below. I'm gonna have to disconnect that too, so we can drain all the pressure out of this accumulator. This is a pretty cool device. It's filled with nitrogen, and this pump here basically fills up this accumulator. It's, you know, 1500 psi or so, and when you actually press the brake pedal, the pressure from the master cylinder is not actually connected to the brakes themselves. What it does is the master cylinder, when you press it, is it reads the pressure from your foot on the master cylinder, and it uses that to open a valve a certain amount, and it lets the pressure from this go down to your brakes. So it's kind of brake-by-wire. Supposedly, if it fails, the valves fail. It's got a valve that'll fail open, so that then the master cylinder can actually actuate the brakes, you know, in the event something goes wrong. But that's pretty interesting. So your pedal feel, if you've got one of these units, is actually completely fake. Now that everything's kind of apart, you know, just kind of floating around here, probably should avoid stuff touching other stuff here. We're gonna go ahead and I don't need to do that yet. First, we need to drain all of the brake pressure from in here. really not sure if we have to do that, but I guess it's better not to have all that pressure in there. We're not taking the whole thing apart, so there's no really injury risk or anything there. But it is going to be nice not to have to deal with all that fluid in there. So we're just gonna go here, we're gonna press this. And
4 to 6 days later.
I would like to point out while I'm depressing this pedal that this is not a guide on how to do this. I have no idea what I'm doing. So if you hurt yourself or break something, it's not my fault.
4 to 6 more days later.
I think at this point we've basically lost everything. I have just realized something. If the battery's not disconnected, how's it using, or if it's not connected, how's it using the pressure from the accumulator if it needs electricity to open the valves? So I think we're going to reassess here. You know what? I don't really know. I also don't really care that much. So we're just gonna keep going here. This connector, to undo it, this will be folded over here. Squeeze this in, pull it open, and you should feel it will push itself as you pull this 90 degrees. It will push itself out of the connector. Just get rid of that. This is not for the pump. This goes through the firewall. That comes off pretty easy too. Looks pretty good. Weatherproofing is still intact. That's what you like to see. What else we got here? We got this. I guess this is a fluid level sensor. We'll just pull that back. This gray piece here. Should be able to just push down and pull it out. Connector's still good. This is for the differential or for the transmission, one of the two. And it's zip tied to the brake lines. All right, I think now what I'm gonna do is take this here, end of the hose off. If I can even get to that clamp, it's a little rotated weird. And put my catch can under there. It's probably gonna take a few tries since this is like a quart of fluid here. And try and spill as little as possible. About the top. Nope. Ah. Oh. That is a tight hose clamp. Oh. Got it. Oh, there we go. Take the top off. That's the way to do it. No wonder. Oh my God. That's a lot of brake fluid. Oh my Lord. This was changed maybe 2 months ago. I don't know, maybe I didn't get it all out of there, but I had all the brake lines undone for like a week, and all the fluid drained out, and I flushed it. I figured that would have been enough, but apparently not. Now, there's a couple things you can do to remove these brake lines here. There should be 4 of them, one for each wheel. See, they've got these flare nuts here. Do not use an open-ended wrench. You will have a very, very bad day. Once you strip one of these, you cannot replace them. Even if you get them out, well, you can replace them, but you're gonna have to cut the brake line and reflare it and all that. So it's just better, go buy yourself one of these. Oh, there goes my ratchet. But there's 2 styles. There's this style. See, it's like a open-ended wrench, but it's got extra notches there and up here to help grip around that bolt. you can go to your auto parts store. It's a 13 millimeter. I don't have a 13 millimeter in this. So another option is, if you go to Harbor Freight, pick these up. They've got a metric and a standard set. I'm gonna use the metric set. There's the 13 right there. And see, it's got an adapter for a ratchet. I think this was only like, it's less than 20 bucks or something. But as you can see, that way this will fit around here. And it will fit snug. See, there's a little play in that, and that way you won't strip these. So if I fish out my wrench real quick. Ugh. There we go. You do have to be careful about what ratchet you use, because you can see this one overlaps a little bit. I might have to throw an extension on there. See if it gets it off. There's a right way and a wrong way to turn this. I think the long side goes far away. See, yeah, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to put an extension on that because the brake line is hitting the brake line there. All right, now we got an extension on here, so it will clear the brake line. You wanna make sure that when you do put this on here, that you don't go like that, or you could strip it. You want it to be right on the flare. I'm gonna use two hands to hold this so I don't screw up. Now that you've broken them all loose, you can grab a 13 mil and sit here for about 25 minutes while you tediously take every single flare out of there. You can see you'll lose a little bit of fluid, but I mean, we've lost all our fluid pretty much already. But just one at a time. Take all these things out of there. So up under the dash, you can see we've got a bolt back there that holds the pedal to the plunger. That is a 10 millimeter, and this bolt, there's 4 bolts that hold it to the firewall. It's bolt there, bolt there, bolt up there, and bolt over to the left. You can't really see it. Those are 15s. You need a deep well socket to get to those. They're kind of buried back there in the plastic. So yeah, just pull those 5 bolts out, and I think we should be pretty much free. After combination of the electric ratchet and this flex head here with a couple extensions and turning it maybe about 1 or 2 teeth at a time for the past half an hour, all those bolts are out. And also this brake pedal sensor, it has a clip on it. You basically just kind of get a flathead screwdriver on it. There's plenty of videos that show you. Actually, I have the clip right here. So the clip, I think, was in here, something like that or like that. But basically what you have to do is stick a screwdriver and, let's see, I don't have a very good light here. But this front part here, focus, try that. This front part here, you have to pull this away because this is like sticking in the hole on the booster. You'll see you have to pull this away, and like I pulled it down. I think, yeah, you pull it down and it should pop right out of there. You do have to be careful that it doesn't fly off and go somewhere under the dash where you can't find it. That's what mine did. But eventually, when I was down there turning the bolts and it was wiggling all the wires, it eventually fell down. But this is kind of hard to find. I think they might have it on Amazon, but either way, it's not a fun piece to lose, so don't lose it. Then you can basically get under there with a flathead screwdriver and pry the brake switch away from the pedal, and the whole linkage should just kind of fall apart and give you a nice floppy pedal there. And up front, what I did is I took these steel lines. You can kind of bend these around a little bit. It shouldn't hurt them. I just took them and I zip tied them. I have a vacuum hose here for a catch can, but you could probably go, you know, to the alternator or whatever. Zip tie them out of the way just to avoid bumping them when I pull this thing out. It shouldn't, once you take all the bolts out, it shouldn't just fall out of the firewall, so that's nice. So you can take all the bolts out and you should be able to lift up and pull out. Well, there it is. There's the whole unit. But yeah, you can see there's brake fluid all over my fingers. This boot is full of it. Eventually, I'm gonna do a video of tearing this thing apart, because the leak at the master cylinder seems to be a pretty common problem with these, especially, you know, as they get older. The rubber wears out, and eventually, you know, you bleed the brakes, and you're pushing the pedal past where it's normally used to being. So I'm probably. And here's the new unit Rock Auto sent. Brand new, $800. Looks good, nice and clean. All right, now you can see that things have gotten very interesting very quickly. This thing must weigh at least 50 pounds. So getting it in here is not an easy task, especially with all the stuff that's around here, trying to get it seated correctly, because it's basically right up against the fuse box. Back under the dash, this brake pedal sensor here. See, it's got a button, that white thing. That's what actually turns your stoplights on. And basically, the flat part right there, focus, of the plunger, or the master cylinder, has to go in between these two things here. I highly doubt I can do it one-handed, but we're just gonna slide that over. We'll make this flush with the end, the pin flush with the end of the thing, and theoretically it should just slide over just like that, and then push it in so it seats up against there, and the pin should be sticking out a little bit. Because this goes on the So now that everything's kind of back together, I got the battery stuff hooked up. All the lines are on, good and tight. Definitely don't want to go too tight on these because you can crack the flare. I'm not really sure how tight you're supposed to go. I just kind of go, and then I'm done. That makes sense. Got this reservoir filled up. This took almost two entire of these bottles, which is whatever, 1 quart. This reservoir takes 2 quarts almost to fill up. So it's right at the max. Let's just turn the key and see what happens. I'm sure we'll probably have to program this. Oh. Just doing something. How's our fluid? Going down a little bit. I don't see any hair there. Any obvious leaks? It's going down. Finally done. Finished up just now. The bleeding procedure was very interesting. So the fronts, I bled them like normal brakes. You gotta have one person in the car, one person at the caliper. Press it down, loosen it, watch the fluid come out, tighten it, and have them let off, and just do that again a bunch of times until you get clear fluid with no bubbles, no foaming, none of that. The rears, however, have somebody step on the pedal, open the bleeder, and you'll hear the pump just run continuously until it basically dumps half the fluid out, and there's no bubbles or anything left in there. Then tighten it back up and it's good. I did have one issue though, and that was getting the master cylinder bled. There's a hole procedure to bleeding the master cylinder. I'll link it below. There's a website, you know, where there's free service manuals and stuff. I'll try and link that below if I can. That shows you like the whole bleeding procedure to manually bleed the master cylinder, bleed the brakes, and do the ABS bleed through the software. But I was having trouble getting the master cylinder to bleed. They tell you to take off number 4 and let it gravity bleed, and then like do a whole bleeding procedure and all that, like loosening this, pressing the pedal, tightening it. None of that was really working too well for me. So I just threw the brake lines on and turned the car on and did it normally and just let it all bleed out through the calipers, and that seemed to work okay. It took me a total of 32 or 1 quart of DOT4 brake fluid to bleed the whole thing. If you're doing this, I would definitely recommend getting like 4 at least, just to give you some extra, because as soon as you crack the rear caliper, it really pours out a lot of fluid. Like I think just one of them, I had it open for about, you know, 5 or 6 seconds, and it brought it from here all the way down to here. Another thing is these had to be tightened really tight. I was surprised, in order to get them to stop leaking. So if you do start bleeding and you notice you're not really getting any fluid out, make sure that when you're pressing the pedal, you're not just dumping all your fluid out here. I had to wrench on it more than I was comfortable in order to get it to stop. But hopefully it's all good. It looks to be, but we will see in the next couple of days or so. I'm going to get some brake clean in there and clean the excess out, and then I'll go stand on the brakes and see if it's leaking or not. But everything's good. But overall, not the worst job in the world. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and throw that bracket back on, and we should be good to go. I'm going to take this plastic clip out of here, throw that away because it sucks. That probably won't rattle. But yeah, we're good to go.